Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm going to do a yin practice today. So, if you have any bolsters or blocks available, grab them really quickly. You could also use pillows and blankets, whatever you may have, just to make yourself a little bit more comfortable. Since we're at our homes, we have a little bit more availability of those things. So, um, give you a minute to go grab those items, come back to your mat. All right, guys. Give you another couple of minutes to grab any props you might have at your house, any bolsters or blocks or blankets. See if you can grab those items. Come on back. Give you another minute or two. I want to make sure my headset's actually working and it's not going through speakers. Again, thanks for joining today. We're just going to stretch out a little, stay pretty close to our mats. So like I said, grab any props you might need. I have blankets, I have blocks, I have a couple bolsters. But if you have pillows, anything that you have at your house definitely will work. Big soup cans, sometimes they work instead of a block, things like that. If you have a warm cup of tea handy, that's also nice. All right. Hopefully by now you have all of those props pretty close to you. So we will go ahead and get started. Let's start on our backs. Just bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees wing out to either side. And just start to focus on the inhales and the exhales. Know that we'll be here for several breaths. So if this is too much on the thighs or the groin muscles, you can bring those blocks underneath your knees or thighs to just give yourself a little bit more support. If you don't have blocks, again, a bolster, or a pillow or anything really to prop those knees or thighs up will work. Maybe bringing one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. And again, just focusing on the breath. Long inhales, slow, full exhales. Again, just notice if you're inner thighs or groins or outer hips are getting just a little too much stretch, bring something underneath. If you don't have any props available, you can always use just your fists. Bring one fist under each thigh to help give yourself a little support so that those knees don't open quite so wide. All right, guys. Release the props on the right side. You can leave the left side if you want a little prop there. Leave it there. We're going to pull that right knee into our chest. Give that right knee a squeeze. Maybe rotate that right ankle. It's both directions. Just loosen that up. And then interlace the fingers around the back of the right thigh or right calf. Press the leg into the hands and the hands back into the leg. Breathe. And again, that left knee is still in that same spot. You might be resting on a prop there. Hamstring stretch on that right side. Maybe point and flex the toes. Can also turn the ankles so that the toes are pointed inward to the midline of the body and then point them out, the right toes out to the right, turning externally, rotating that ankle, maybe even all the way down to the thigh. See how that makes the stretch just a little different. Good. And then start to bend that right knee. Grab the outside of the right foot or ankle and come into a half happy baby here, using gravity to help pull that right knee down towards that right armpit. I don't know about you, but I've been doing a lot of sitting as I've been at home, more even so than I have at work. So, this kind of stretching and moving the body is really helpful. A lot of us are working on screens or we're watching TV or doing whatever, and sitting it just isn't that great for our bodies. Need to have a little more movement. All right, guys, release that right foot. Again, just bring it back to meet the left. You can, again, if you want, bring that prop underneath that right knee. Pull the left knee into your chest. Start rotating the ankle from side to side. Just giving a little stretch. And then interlacing the fingers around the back of the left calf or thigh, whatever you can reach here. Flex the left foot. Press the fingers into the leg and the leg back into the finger. So you're using reciprocal pressure to bring that hamstring stretch. Again, you can point and flex the foot. Maybe rotate the ankle to the inside and then to the outside. Notice how that changes the stretch. We actually have 3 hamstring muscles in each leg. So you can rotate that just a little bit. Good. And then bending that left knee, grab the outside of the left foot or ankle. Again, pulling that left knee down towards the left armpit. And letting gravity do a little work here to help pull it just a little closer, opening that left hip. Breathing into the stretch. Good. And pull the knees into the chest. Just a gentle rock from side to side. And then moving any props out of your way, bring the knees over to the right side of the body. Keep them close to your chest. And then extend the left arm over to the left, coming into a simple supine twist here. Bring that gaze to the left side, maybe looking at the left thumb. And then try to turn your belly button towards the sky. It's not going to go very far, but you'll know that you're attempting to rotate the spine that way. We'll be here for several deep breaths. If you have props here, you definitely could have the knees on blocks or a bolster here if they don't quite hit the mat. Again, just try to make yourself kind of comfortable. We might as well, right? We have all these things available. So if you're not comfortable, do something about it. All right, guys, just two more breaths in this supine twist. And on your inhale, come back to center. Extend both legs long up this imaginary wall behind us. If you have a real wall, I suppose you could rotate and bring the legs up the real wall. The one won't stay for too long. It's reversing the blood flow. They say this also helps give you a different perspective. Any inversions, we can start to think a little bit differently about, personal, professional situations. Just a few more breaths here in this simple inversion. You might notice that your feet get a little tingly, maybe they get a little cold, just with the change in the blood flow here. Good. And then bring those feet down to the mat. Bring the heels close to your butt, arms at your sides, palms face down. We're going to start to lift the hips, pressing weight into the feet. Roll the shoulders under. Start to interlace the fingers underneath the body if you like. Press the knuckles down towards your heels and the wrists into the mat. Continue to press into the feet to lift those hips up high. We want to make sure you have strong, stable bridges. One more last inhale here. And a final exhale. Start to roll down one vertebrae at a time, bringing the hips back to the mat. Let the feet be wide. Let the knees knock together here for just a moment to let the spine acclimate. And then pull the knees into your chest once again. And then bring the knees over to the left side. Again, if you have props there, you could use them, certainly. And then bring the right arm and gaze to the right side. You're gazing at that right thumb. And then that belly button, attempt to pull the belly button towards the ceiling, so straight up. So that belly button looks straight up at the sky. Take some deep breaths here. I posted that we were going to do a yin practice today. And one student texted me and said they hadn't got out of bed yet. So I said, perfect. You don't have to leave your bed for yin class. So you can do this right from your bed, which is pretty nice. All right, guys, just a couple more breaths on this side. And come back to center, squeezing those knees in. Just gentle rock side to side. And then bring the hands underneath the thighs. Rock and roll the length of the spine a couple of times. And then plant the hands in front of you. Find a tabletop position in the center of your mat. Just start with a few cat cows here. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart. Exhale to curl the spine, tuck chin to chest. Inhale, drop the belly. Exhale, curling the spine. Add any additional movement that feels right to you. It can be hip circles or side bends. Anything that works. Notice any pops or creaks. Try not to judge those pops or creaks. Just notice. Maybe one side is a little tighter than the other. You notice that. And just bring whatever movement to the body that feels good. Good. And find one more inhale here. And then a final exhale. And we'll meet back in a neutral spine. Check that your hands are right under the shoulders. Your fingers are spread wide. Your knees are right under those hips. And then gluing the knees and hands right where they are, just squeeze the elbow, the shoulder, and the right hip together. Good. So you're kind of like, we call this elbow macaroni in a past class. So, and then do the left side, squeezing knee, elbow, and shoulder to the left hip. You got it. And right side. Just continue breath and movement here, squeezing each side together. So you're notice the opposite, equal opposite sort of reactions. As you open the right rib cage, you're compressing the left. Good. And then switching sides with each breath. Compressing the right, opening the left. Beautiful. Good. And come back to center. Walk the hands out in front of you. See if you can leave those hips high and bring your heart down towards the mat. You can press the chin or forehead down onto a prop or the mat itself. Leave the hips high. So, yes, your butt is in the air. But you'll notice stretching in the heart, in the armpits, the upper back. Deep breaths. Nice. Just one more breath here. And then slither onto your belly. Bring the elbows directly under the shoulders. Your arms look like a number 11. First, spread those fingers wide. And then start to press the pelvis down into the mat. Press the tops of the toes down into the mat. And you'll lift the kneecaps up because of so much pressure pressing the tops of the feet down. Press the heart through the arms like you're going to press the heart way out in front of you, to the wall way out in front of you here. Breathe. Sphinx pose. If you imagine one of those statues that look so stately, that's what you look like right now. Just a few more breaths here. And then walk the hands out towards the corners of your mat. You're going to bring the palms down. Press those palms down. And then lift the heart up just a little bit more. This is a little bit more compression in the spine, a little deeper back bend. And we won't stay quite so long here. Deep breaths. Good. And then lowering back down to the elbows. Pressing into the palms, finding your way back to that tabletop position. Tuck your toes under. See if you can get even that little teeny tiny baby toe tucked all the way under. It likes to cheat a little bit. And then come back to sit on those heels with those toes tucked under for a little broken toe pose. I know it's not the most pleasant. We won't stay too awful long. You can come forward a little bit if you need a little bit less pressure on the feet or the toes, but it is good for plantar fasciitis or anybody that has any foot issues to give that a good stretch. Good, and then release, rotate the ankles. Good, sit to the insides of the feet here, and then we're gonna extend that right leg out in front of us. So the left heel, it's the outside of that left hip. You're not sitting on the heel in this case. The right foot is out in front of you. You can flex that right foot. You feel that stretch in the top of the left quad, left hip flexor. You notice it there. If you need a little bit more, you know what to do. Start to roll onto the hands, maybe even the elbows. Some of you can roll all the way onto your spine, but do take it easy on your body. Don't go too far too fast. And see if you can let the left knee rest on the mat so it's not lifted up. Keep that right foot flexed. Good. Start to roll back to a vertical spine, pressing into the hands. Rotate that left leg around. Turn the left ankle to the left or the right. Get blood flow moving in there again. And then just swing the right leg around so that the right heel comes to the outside of the right hip. Keep that left foot flexed. Again, notice the stretch on the top of the right quad, right hip flexor. And again, if you need a bit more, maybe you'll roll onto your hands. Maybe you'll stop here. Or you can start to roll onto the elbows. This height is a little tighter for me, so I might just stay here on the hands this time instead of rolling onto the elbows. But you do what your body needs. Take some deep breaths. Good, and then swing that right leg around. Oh, sorry, if you were laid back, you should have rose up first. And then rotate that right ankle. Just find blood flow again. And then bring the hands behind you. Point the fingertips towards your hips, and your legs are long on the mat. You're going to count to 3. On your 3, you're going to lift the hips straight up towards the ceiling. It's a pretty powerful movement. And then the toes will sort of point down at your mat. So again, hands behind you, fingertips point towards your hips. You're going to, on the count of 3, lift the hips high, point the toes towards the mat. Exhale first. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Lift those hips up high. Yes. Point those toes. Press them down towards the mat. Continue to lift the hips. Come on. Keep it hold. Hold here. And then exhale. Release back down to the mat. Bring the feet together. Come up into a Baddha Konasana. You can rock the hips from side to side if that feels good. You can stay here on a vertical spine, but if you need a little bit more, you can start to fold forward. You could also, if you like, bring the hands to the hips or the knees, start to press down towards the floor. Sometimes I like to bring my hands into the hips and then sort of rotate backwards. Breathe. Good. Start to roll back to a vertical spine. Bring the right leg parallel to the top of the mat. And then we're going to attempt to stack this left ankle on top of the right knee. And then the left knee is on top of the right ankle. You'll flex both feet and see if you can kind of find some symmetry here on either side. And if you need a little bit more, you can start to fold forward. Now, a lot of us will have this left knee lifted up. That's not wrong. It's just how your body is built. So it's not a big deal. I bet you're still feeling the stretch, and as long as you are, you're doing it just right. Deep breaths here. Breathing into any space that you find is uncomfortable. Start to come back to a vertical spine. And this time you're going to actually squeeze the knees together so everything sort of moves inward. And now you'll notice that the left knee is on top of the right knee, or again, it's lifted up. And you could also use blocks or blankets here to sort of put stack between the knees for a little bit more comfort. But if those knees can stack, great. If not, great. And see if you can like let the feet look sort of symmetrical on either side. Again, you can sit here on a vertical spine, or you can start to fold forward. If you have a block, you can bring your forehead to the block to like make it a little bit more restful. Not that that type of hip stretch is super restful, but there you go. You can just pretend with your forehead. Sometimes it helps to press the third eye into the block. Good. Start to rise back up to a vertical spine if you're folded forward. Maybe you have to move forward on your mat just a little bit. I want to have you keep the legs where they are and roll onto your back. And you can lift up and grab the outsides of the ankles or the feet and pull them towards you as you rest back on the mat. And you might notice that it's a little easier to stack the knees in this position. I find that to be true. Deep breaths here. And release the ankles and kind of let the legs sort of straighten out just a bit. So you're pointing them down towards the bottom of your mat now. And then this is a little easier for me as well on a supine position. I can now take my right toes and bring them underneath the left. I think that's my left ankle. No, that's yeah, my my left toes around my right ankle, guys. And then I can bring my right arm underneath the left here. And on your inhale, I want you to bring the toes to the mat and the fingertips to the mat. So you're stretched out long. On your exhale, lift and bring the knees and elbows together. Yeah, inhale. Continue breath and movement together. And yes, I did just trick you into some sit ups. Continue breathing, continue squeezing knees and elbows together. The last one. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, squeeze. And then unwind. Bring knees into the chest. Hands underneath the thighs. Rock and roll the length of the spine a couple of times. Come into a seated position again. And bring the right leg parallel to the top of your mat. Think this is right here. Stack left foot on top of right knee. And again, if you need a little bit more, you'll start to fold forward, but keep both of those feet flexed. I wonder if that's the wrong side, so make sure it's the right side for you. I think it's the wrong side. Again, if you need any props between the bones, the joints here, sometimes if you can't get the knees stacked and it's up in the air, you might want a little prop there. Notice the stretch in that outer hip, the one that's getting a little bit more lengthening and opening. Good, and rise up on the inhale, lengthen the spine, and then squeeze those knees together in the center once again. So you're just sliding the knees together. I think the right knee is on top now, making the feet look somewhat similar. And again, you can stay here with a long vertical spine. If you need a bit more, you can start to fold forward. Try to keep the spine long if you can. And then if you like, then you can rest that third eye on a block or a bolster. Just taking some long, deep breaths. Notice how the stretching and the opening in that right hip is a little more intensified potentially. Good. Start to roll back to a vertical spine. Again, you may have to scoot forward on your mat just a bit so you can roll onto your back. And lift the head and torso up so you can grab the outsides of the ankles or the feet and pull them back towards you as you lie down on your mat. So again, notice it just might be a little easier to stack the knees in this supine position. That's a good way to start this posture if you can't quite stack the knees. Good. And release the feet. Point the toes down towards the bottom of your mat. And maybe again, you can wrap the right toes around the left ankle. On this side, I cannot apparently today. So it's fine. We'll just keep them squeezed together. And then the right arm is going to come underneath the left, double or single bind. Press the palms together. Inhale, bring the toe tips and the fingertips to the floor. Exhale, squeeze together. Inhale, extend. Exhale, squeeze. Continue breath and movement together. Good. Last one. Squeeze. Inhale. Unwind. Bring the arms underneath the thighs. Rock and roll the length of the spine. Good. And then bring the hands to the floor. Find tabletop once again. Find just some hip movement. So bring the right hip towards the right wrist and then down towards that right heel over to the left side. Rotating as you go. And then switching directions. Rotating the hips. Beautiful, guys. And then come back to center. Bring the left knee to the left wrist. Extend the right leg long behind you. Find a half pigeon. The left foot. So keep that left foot flexed. If you want to walk it a little closer to the right wrist, you can for a little bit more intensity. For a little less intensity, you'll walk the ankle towards the right hip flexor. Sit up tall first, open the heart, lean back even, look up. And then start to settle in, resting on the hands or the elbows. Letting the chin drop towards your chest. Taking some deep breaths. Just a couple more breaths here. And start to press yourself back up onto the palms. Tuck the right toes under, lift the left leg high. Find three-legged dog. Stretch that left leg out. Good. And then bring the left toes to the mat. Find downward facing dog. Start to pedal out. Just shift weight side to side. Stretching out the backs of the hamstrings. Bringing weight into both feet and hands. Pressing the hips back towards the wall behind you. So aim for that spot between the wall and the ceiling, that place where they meet. That's where your hips are aiming. And you could definitely still do that with the knees bent, right? If you have not so much hamstring opening, you could still aim the hips. Good. Bring the knees back down towards the mat and bring the right wrist, extending left leg long on the mat. Untuck the left toes. Again, maybe coming up onto the fingertips, pressing the heart skyward, looking up. And then start to settle in, dropping onto the hands or the elbows. Letting chin tuck toward your chest. And breathe. Just a couple more breaths. And start to press back onto the palms. Tuck the left toes under. Lift that right leg high. Stretch the right leg out. And again, bringing that right foot down, finding that downward facing dog. Finding whatever movement serves you here. Lengthening out. Side bends here. Whatever works. And then once again, bringing knees to the mat, crossing ankles, sit behind them. Roll onto your back. Feet are on the mat, the knees point at the ceiling. Cross the left ankle over the right knee. Bring the right knee into your chest. You can interlace the fingers around the front of the right shin or back of the right thigh. Flex the left foot and press the left knee down towards the bottom left corner of your mat. Take a few deep breaths here. Release the grip on the right leg and bring the sole of the left foot to the floor on your right. The left knee will face the ceiling-ish. I like to put my right hand on my left foot so it doesn't slip away. And then you can bring the left arm and gaze to the left. Just a few more breaths on this side. And then inhale, coming back to center, bringing both legs up this wall. Again, if you have a wall near you, you could rotate or turn and actually press the heels into the wall and give yourself a little break. You might have to bend the knees a little here. It's perfectly fine. Either way, the blood flow will sort of reverse. And you'll start to get the effects pretty quickly. All right, guys, start to bring the feet back down to the mat. Cross the right ankle over the left knee. And bring the knees into your chest, interlacing the hands around the front of the left shin or back of the left thigh. Press the right knee away from you and flex that right foot to help protect that knee. Release the grip on the left leg and bring the sole of the right foot to the floor on your left. Again, you can have the left hand on the right foot. The right knee sort of faces the ceiling, and then the right arm and gaze turn to the right. Just a few more breaths here. And your inhale, come back to center, releasing both feet towards the ceiling one last time. Deep breaths. Let everything go. Any tension you're holding anywhere. And know that we do hold a lot of emotion in our hips. So they say if you start to move those hips and open like we did today, you may start to feel some emotion come up. It's not strange or weird, it's completely normal, but also good to release, right? And then start to bend the knees, lengthening the legs, the length of the mat. So long, bring your arms overhead. See if you can grab your elbows. If you cannot grab your elbows, widen them so that the elbows can rest on the mat. Most of us kind of look like this, and I don't want us to be uncomfortable. So if you have to widen those elbows, do that. And then, oh, I knocked over my tea. And walk the ankles towards the right side of your mat. And then the upper body walks to the right side of the mat. So you're in a banana shape. So you notice this opening on the left side of the body, all the way from the ankles to the armpit. And if you like, you can cross the left ankle over the right ankle, if that serves you. All right. Start to walk the upper body back through center. Uncross the ankles and walk them back to center and then over to the left side of your mat. And the upper body will follow. So you're in that banana shape on the opposite side. Notice again the opening in between each rib. A little lengthening, creating space. Good. On your inhale, coming back to center with the upper body first. Bring your arms to your sides. Bring the legs back to center. And then try to find all the wiggles out of the body. Let the feet be wide as your mat. Let the toes turn out towards the edges of the mat. It helps open the hips. Bring your arms to your sides, palms face up. Just close your eyes. Let your body sink into the mat, finding Shavasana. Let everything go. Start to notice the breath once again. Notice the body. Start small movement, rotating the ankles, the wrists. Maybe nod your head from side to side. Take your time. Start to broaden that movement and make your way onto your right side. Rest there with your head on your arm, your knees pulled into your chest. As you lie there resting, just give yourself a silent thank you for practicing today. Start to press into your hands and roll up to your seat, letting the head rise last. And finally rising up, pressing the palms together, thumbs at your heart, slight bow of the head. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste. Thank you, guys.